Okay, we'll go ahead and get started on the workshop. Number one, the Union County Education Association. Discuss contracts and dire.
You have in your packet the Zonar contract. We've had that contract for a couple of years now. It provides our bus service, GPS, and inspection products. We'd like to extend that for another year.
Number two, school board attorney updates. Mary Ann Stackhouse. Number three, discuss TSBA recommended change to school board policy. Presented for information at this meeting as follows. 1.700 school district goals. 5.100 personnel goals. 3.201 safety. 4.201 basic program. 6.411 student wellness. 6.600 student records. And deletion of 6.603 student records and use of records. 1.909 charter school applications. 4.400 instructional resources and materials. 6.303 interrogations and searches. 6.402 physical examinations and immunizations. 6.405 medicines. Dr. Mincy.
Okay, to make this simpler for you good board members, I gave you a copy. It's a packet of current board policy. And anything that's highlighted in green, that's what TSBA recommends that we either change or leave off. The other packet, which of course is thicker, is TSBA's recommended changes. Everything in it that's highlighted yellow is a change or an addition. Now, they do recommend, without taking a terrible lot of time, I'll walk you through part of the change folder. School district goals, there's very little changed. Personnel goals, not a lot there. And all of the documentation that they gave you to show why that they recommend their changes, like the educator diversity policy, which is the State Board of Education policy 5.700. I copied it for you so you have it just in case you want to refer to it. Senate bills in there for the same purpose. Then if you flip on over, you'll find an email dated October the 25th, 2019 that refers to our annual policy manual audit. And the only thing to bring to your attention, policy 3.201, we recommend including the additional sentence from our model policy. In addition, the director of schools designee shall provide the local law enforcement agency with all safety and security plans. And if you move down to policy 6.600, additionally, we recommend deletion of policy 6.603 because their revised 6.600 eliminates the need for 6.603. It would just be a repetition. And there's the policy on safety, not a lot of changes there. Class size ratios, that entire language is new, and it renamed the policy. 4.201 in their version is not what it is in our current version. It's a totally redone policy. Student wellness, there's practically no change at all. They add school here and there. And I think that's the only change on that policy is the word school and some of the references. Student records, not a lot of change there. Now that policy that they recommend you delete 6.603, I copied it for you as we have it and just put big X's on it so you know that they're recommending that you delete it. Then you'll come to another email dated November 16th, 2020. And on their policy, they recommend 4.400 textbook and instructional materials. It says view aligned administrative procedures by clicking here. I did not copy that for you because I think, as best I remember, it's well over 100 pages long. If you want it, I can get it for you, but I wasted enough paper. And the informational item on end-of-course exams, the State Board of Education approved a rule change on second reading that allows districts flexibility for the 2021 school year. This change allows the board to choose a weight for end-of-course exams to be included in a student's final grade from a range 0 to 25%. And I believe that the last time we looked at that, we chose 0 because of the COVID crisis. As more changes on this topic may be forthcoming from the General Assembly, we do not recommend updating Board Policy 4.700. So it's not in there because they recommend we just leave it as it is. But I think that we decided 0% for the testing to count. Charter school applications, it's a policy you have to have. We don't have charter schools, but one could come in and make applications, so we have to have policy for it. And then there's all the documentation that backs that up. Textbook and instructional materials, changes are highlighted in yellow, not very light yellow. Not a great deal of material change there. They condensed it, it's basically what they did. Interrogations and searches. Searches for school personnel is kind of pretty much rewritten. In order to ensure a safe and secure learning environment, the director of schools shall develop procedures regarding the searching of students' lockers, vehicles, and containers which are consistent with state law. The director of schools shall develop additional procedures to ensure compliance with all of the provisions of the School Security Act of 1981. Physical examinations and immunizations. A few changes there. Medicines, the main change has to do with students with asthma shall be permitted to self-administer prescribed per the regulations that they list. And then there's the school and student health services policy from the state to back it up. And that's pretty much all the changes they have. This is not presented for you all to vote on tonight. This is just the first time you see it for you to take it and look at it. And if you have any questions to bring back next month, we'll bring it back to you for approval on first reading next month.
Now we'll have Ms. Murray. Yes, ma'am.
First of all, Dr. Carter, we appreciate you providing the employees to go and get the vaccine and providing time for them to do that. I wasn't one of them because I already had got to take mine a week ago. But hopefully the ones that did it, hopefully they won't have a reaction. They say that second shot, sometimes it shows up, makes people feel bad and sick for a day or two, but hopefully that won't happen. But we appreciate you giving the teachers the opportunity to do this and time off. Thank you. Hopefully this will help get some of this in the budget. Do you know how much a percentage of employees have had vaccines?
Well, the percentages are a little deceptive simply because we had some people that were in quarantine during that time. We had some that were positives. So we're doing, when we do the second shot, we're offering the first dose that day as well. So those people, and we've had several employees to change their mind and decide to go ahead and do it to get the vaccination. So I would say we were pretty close to 75%, 75 to 80%.
Hopefully, like I said, hopefully this will stay.
I hope so.
Well, one person I had talked to today, she had the virus, and her doctor had recommended that she wait because the antibodies in her body were still high.
Right.
And they said she needed to wait until it got lower.
Well, and we're considered a site for vaccinations. So if we have any of our employees that fall into that category, which we did have some that when we we had some people who had just come off of the quarantine from having it, and they didn't receive the shot. So we're looking at the number of days and trying to do as best we can to make sure as many people who want the shot or have access to it.
That's good.
Number 4, discuss budget amendments and transfers and the director's monthly report. Ann Downer.
We have no budget amendments to discuss, but we do have the reports that you have been presented, and of course, the tax season has primarily ended. We have sufficient increase in our cash with trustee at the end of the month, February, and everything else is as normal as it can be in COVID times. Any questions about those reports?
But can I make one observation?
Sure.
Ms. Dyer? If you look at our balances, our ending balances for the month, you may overlook it, but it needs to be made note of. You'll see the area where our cafeteria funds typically are and where they currently are. I want you to take note of that because they've had a decrease in what they would typically have as far as their balance. And I just think that's worth noting. I think Mary has done an excellent job getting food out to families in several different manners, but we didn't cut any of our staff and we're not selling as much food. So her balances are going down. So we're going to use some of our ESSER funds to try to prop some of that up and help with that just a little bit. And I'll get to that on down.
And I might also note in that fund balance, in the last several years, she's had to make a report to the state on how she was going to reduce her excess fund balance because they should not have more than 3 months. They're still in a safe harbor for that, so it's not going to affect them drastically as far as they operate, but if this continues for another year, it would be impactful on that fund balance.
Okay. And on the addendum, number 1, discuss revisions to ESSER 2.0. Dr. Carter?
Okay, at the last meeting, we approved our budget and our plan for ESSER 2.0 funding. Do you have a hard copy for them to see that, Ron? So originally, the deadline for submission was March 1st. The state gave an additional 2 weeks, so it turned to be March 15th. In that process, we understood that they were turning down any funding or not turning it down, but sending back to districts if you had anything within your plan that carried beyond June 30th. So, and I know this sounds odd to everyone, but they were expecting us to spend $3.5 million between the time it gets approved, which still it has not been approved, and June 30th. So we had to revise it. Now, those funds do carry over, so the expectation is we can amend our budget back, but our original submission could not have funds that carried beyond June 30th of this school year. And in ours, we had budgeted salaries for 2 years. So basically what we did is took all those salaries in those that carried over beyond June 30th and put that in maintenance of facilities. And we've got ESSER 3.0 that is going to be coming out possibly before we get our approval for 2.0. And that dollar figure for Union County is right at $8 million. And so
What are we going to do?
we're going to spend it. One of the major things we're going to be doing, I mean, there are guidelines. You can't just spend this on whatever and anything you want to spend it on. But we're going to make sure that all of our HVAC systems are up to date and have all the technology behind it that would take out any virus, bacteria in the air. Those are some of the things that we're going to do, and that's obviously not going to cost that amount of money. But we're within our office having conversations about how we're going to do that. I do want to tell you our plans for summer school and opening up next school year. Most everyone that works in the field of education understands that summer school is a wonderful thing, but it's not really where you get your bang for your buck. That happens during the school year. So we are going to do summer school. We're going to open it up with transportation, and we're going to have interventionists and teachers teaching. The state says the minimum is between 13 and 20 per teacher. We're reducing our ratios to 8. They want us to have a certain percentage of economically disadvantaged to take advantage of the entire amount of money that we're receiving for summer school. I'm not recruiting economically disadvantaged. I'm recruiting students by their test data. And so I'm hopeful that we get 100% of the funding on that, but we'll make up for whatever we don't get from some other source. But we're going to teach summer school the best way we can do that to make sure our students can take advantage of it. It will begin the first week of June and end the last week of June. 6.5 hours. Teachers are to be paid no less than $1,000 a week. So there's a lot of provisions on how we do this. But the main thing that we are going to do is, and this ESSER 2.0 funds has it in there, is we are going to look at our K through 3 students and put in place a certified teacher to be an interventionist so that we can make up as much learning loss as we possibly can while our kids are in school. So that is a quick overview of about $12 million.
Okay. Number 2, discuss quarterly capital projects report, Dr. Carter.
Do they have a copy of that?
You
Size
two
card.
can share that.
Ron.
You share that.
Yeah, what?
I said, I knew I should have asked for a raise.
The state won't allow that.
I'm not on the list.
You're not on the list unless you're a threat for COVID.
No, I've had it, thank you very much.
Yes, I know. We had discussed that we were going to be doing a quarterly update on our capital projects. So this year, we had approximately just over $1 million of projects that we had done, and I wanted to give you an update on where we are on those. Most all of them have been completed. We did the high school roof, which was $220,000. It's complete. Charles Chapel roof, $197,000. It is complete. The fire alarm here at the high school, it just stopped working. So we had completely put in a brand new fire alarm system. That was $91,000. That has been completed. As you all recall, we have a capital projects line that contains $120,000, and I'd like to have that in there when we have principals or people in different facilities ask about certain projects and we feel like it needs to be done, and that way we're not taking it out of maintenance and lowering our maintenance. Of that $120,000, we have spent $19,000, and we put awnings up at the EMAC as well as at here at the high school where where we have a drainage problem out by the auditorium. We put an awning there. And the girls softball team, we put a screen up, and Brad can probably enlighten you all on how when the pitcher is pitching at about 6:30 in the spring, they're looking straight into the sun.
That's
so
correct.
we put a screen there to give some shade for the pitcher. We also have a VAV, which is part of the HVAC system here at the high school, that we are replacing parts of that. We spent $9,900 on that. Chromebooks, we have spent $90,000 on that. Instructional panels for Paulette Elementary, that has been spent, and we're in the progress of putting those in. And I don't know if Chip's here. They may be completed with that by now. High school paving is $120,000. Maryville Elementary playground, the basketball court there, we are looking at having a June start date on that. The buses, $180,000, and that is complete, and that is, the bottom line is $986,736. And I put the original budget on those, so that's not an exact figure. For example, I think the Sharps Chapel roof came in under budget, maybe $20,000.
Right.
And also, I did not include on this where we had the engineering costs to all those projects. So that's approximately what we have done. And we are in the process of looking at capital projects for next year. If you all have any ideas or thoughts, one of the things we're going to do is complete the paving here at the high school. And that all we like here is the student parking lot. And we're also going to completely pave Maryville Elementary's facility, though they're driving, parking, and all that. So that's the paving we're going to do, and then I'm sure there'll be other things that maintenance will report to me that they'd like to see us do. I will be putting all HVAC cost into our ESSER fund, and so I'm hopeful that that will help save some money on our maintenance budget. So nearly all of our capital projects funds have been spent. There's a couple of things that we want to look at, like completing this fence over here where they put in the farmer's market. And that's all, folks.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, thank you.
Now let's all rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Gerald, would you lead us?
Heavenly Father, again, we come thanking you again for another beautiful day. We thank you for all that you do for us each and every day in our lives. We thank you for giving us the opportunity to come and serve this county. Again, we just want to thank you and know that everything that we have, and it's a God thing, and we just want to thank you for being with us and leading us and guiding us and let us do what you would want us to do. And always know that without you we can do nothing, and with you all things is possible. And amen.
I'll call this meeting to order, the Union County Board of Education. Is there a motion to approve the agenda? Motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Do we have any special recognition?
No.
None. Announcements?
I only want to say that we are working on our budget for next year, starting with salaries, and our goal is to have a starting salary for teachers at $40,000. I'm hopeful that we can make that. I do want to say that we're adjusting some of our pay scales and moving some of those things around. For example, looking at custodian pay. Currently, the custodians are on a 260-day contract. So the way we would explain it is they work spring break, fall break, Christmas break, summer, all the summer break. So they get their holidays and those types of things, but they work all of our breaks. So in order to move their salary, the amount per hour, we were looking at reducing the number of days they work and keeping their pay at the same rate or the same amount, which would in essence be a zero or a neutral effect to our budget. but it raises their hourly rate from, and you'll have to help me with the numbers.
From 811 to 891.
So we are moving about 80 cents
Right.
per hour, the rate. So as they move up the scale, they will realize that raise. That was one. Wanted to do the same thing for the technology department. They are also on a 260-day contract, moving those to a 240-day contract and leaving their salary the same, which would allow them to continue, as well as they are on a 10-year top-out, and we want to increase that scale to a 20-year top-out. Our bonuses for our teachers are to go out in the March payroll, and I will want to say our finance department did everything humanly possible to make that happen in February, and local government did everything humanly possible to make sure it did not.
Amen.
Our software programs, they said, we can do this with one easy click. So Sherry already had all the salary, or all the pay already in, was just trying to upload the bonuses. And so local government said, we can do that with one little, and what in essence they did is they deleted everything. So they spent a day and a half. Missy worked until 8, 9 o'clock at night trying to get back what we had in there in the first place. So they worked so hard to try to make sure that went out in the February pay, but it just did not happen, because otherwise they wouldn't have gotten paid on their regular pay time. So we've got that to go out at the end of March, and it's approximately $550. I want to say it's $547 or $548, but it's right at $550. And also, we would, and you'll see it in our next budget amendment for next time, we have taken some of our ESSER funds and want to put the $250 bonus in for all of our non-certifieds as well. So they realize some type of bonus through that too. And we would hope that, and I don't know because they're on different pays, that would begin in March, or at the end of March, or would you put that all in one paycheck at the end of the month?
We can.
Okay.
I'll have to check with Sherry to see what the schedule is, but it can be done in the next 2 payrolls.
Okay.
Yeah.
And,
So all the non-certifieds are getting a bonus too?
yes. And one of the things that we're doing for the cafeteria, so when we take, I want to talk about the vaccinations because our nurses were above and beyond when we did that. It looked, and I was here most of the day, but your appearance, if you were coming here to get your vaccination, it looked like that's what we did all day long. It was so seamless and wasn't one hitch in any of it, and it went beautifully. We closed down, we had distance learning for Wednesday, and we did distance learning Thursday and Friday to do our vaccinations. And the reason we did Thursday and Friday is because we were not sure which day that we were going to receive our vaccines. They actually ended up coming in on Thursday about 10 o'clock. So we did our vaccinations on Friday. But because we were not 100% sure if we were going to get them, this walk-in clinic up here had about 100 vaccinations that they advertised that they needed to get out. And so our teachers heard of that, and the first thing they did was call me and said, are you okay with us doing that? Because we're not 100% sure if we're going to get it. I said, I don't care where you get your shot, just go get it. So we consumed probably about 70 or 80 our teachers at that location up there. Now, fast forward, 28 days is when you're supposed to get your second shot. So that group of teachers will receive their vaccinations on Wednesday or Thursday. And so I did the same schedule the week before spring break so that all of our employees would have the opportunity in case they had any ill effects from that shot, realizing that some of our employees will actually be getting their shots on Wednesday. And we'll be given hours on that Friday before spring break. But I do want to I want to acknowledge how well that our group of nurses and that whole staff did as far as getting those out. In that vein, when we shut down school and we do distance learning, our cafeteria ladies that is not generating a revenue. So she has to make a decision of whether to pay her employees because we're doing distance learning or to not pay them. And I told her I would rather she pay them. That's why we're taking money out of our ESSER funds to make sure our cafeteria ladies are taken care of, because when push comes to shove, they were the ones that were knocking it out of the park last year, this time, making sure all of our kids had meals when the schools were shut down and during the summer. And I sure as heck don't want to drop them off here and now. I don't want to short them on anything. So I assured Mary that we would make up for those funds so that they would receive their regular paycheck when we were closing. On a regular Wednesday distance learning, Mary's staff is working to prepare and put out food. So they're still working those days, but when we close otherwise, they would not be working. So that's what we're doing for those ladies. And that is all I have, Mr. Copey.
Thank you, sir. Number 5, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. They can't, anybody oppose, or we wouldn't pass it. We've got to be careful here.
Yeah.
Number 6, is there a motion to approve the transfers?
Motion. Ain't no.
There was no budget amendment, says transfers. Well, there wasn't any transfers either?
No, you're thinking the ESSER thing,
Okay.
and I put that on a separate line.
All right, let's go to number 7. Is there a motion to approve the Zonar contract?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. The addendum, is there a motion to approve the revisions to the ESSER 2.0?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And then we'll have the next meeting in April sometime.
Okay. The second Thursday in April is the 8th, but that's the first week we're back from spring break. Do we want to do it on that day or move it to the 15th?
We can do it on the 8th.
Okay.
And does it matter to you? I don't know.
Well, we can't do it on the 15th because that'll be after the budget meeting, so
Yes.
it'll have to be.
And I do want to make sure everyone knows that we will be looking at our preliminary budget on that day.
Yeah.
If you're on the 15th, I'm signing my income tax.
Yeah, that too.
Maybe that'll be short.
It's priorities, Ms. Stackhouse, priorities.
Pitifully true and short.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
There is.
Is there a second?